long-awaited, well, the next transformation video. I realised that a lot of the content on my page has gone very like social, not very home content at the moment. I will explain in a second, but pretty much it's just because I've had nothing to share with you. We haven't bought or done anything for a little while. But yeah, I'm back with another home video, which is actually really nice. I get such a like warm, fuzzy feeling when I film these videos. I know that sounds probably bizarre, but I just think they're so like comforting. Was that my back that just cracked? Ugh, I hate things like that. I actually really hate things like that. I remember I used to have to go to the chiropractor when I was playing squash loads. I used to go literally once a week and they'd always try and like click you into place, and I honestly hated it. I would just literally tense all my muscles and be like, no, just try and resist it. Long story short, I love the home content, and I'm sorry if you have subscribed to this channel for home content and it's now just me partying in Greece. So this is our lounge area. If I'm being really honest with you, this is a total work in progress, and I really thought that I was going to be able to get this to where I wanted it couple of months ago, about 2 months ago, and it's just doing this has just made me realise, first of all, how expensive doing house things is in general. Like, everything costs a lot of money. We literally came from a furnished flat to this house and we basically had nothing. So yeah, cost wise, but also making so many decisions at once is actually like pretty time consuming. Ordering furniture, sourcing furniture, actually making decisions on furniture. It just takes up a lot of time and a lot of energy because we've had so much of the house to do. We've just kind of hit pause on it for a little bit, probably until the end of summer, but we've got a lot that we still want to do, including actually putting some colour in this room. I know a lot of people love totally neutral spaces, but I personally do want a little bit of colour in here. Just making the decision on colour has been a little trickier than we thought. We've got lots of ideas, but what I'm saying is basically bear with me because we have got a ton of stuff to do in this room, and probably as we're going along I will kind of tell you about some of the ideas that we've got as well. So I thought I should probably sit down and kind of take you through each thing, kind of like I did in the bedroom transformation video. But I feel like it's only right to start with like the biggest piece of furniture by far in this room, which is our sofa. So we actually ordered this sofa in the Black Friday sale in November, which is just mad because it only arrived, well, in end of March, the beginning of April, I think is when it arrived. Maybe even later than that, I don't know, but it took a long time. We chose a sofa from Camerich on the King's Road. I would say initially we thought we'd had a really good experience, but the wait times were absolutely crazy. The communication wasn't amazing, to be honest, in the end. There were a couple of times where it came to the date that they'd given us and then they just didn't tell us it was going to be delayed further. So I would and wouldn't recommend them. It was actually a recommendation as a brand from Elliot's dad, who's used them before. And pretty much Camerich are kind of a slightly like lower budget luxury sofa, I would say. They aren't in the same kind of price bracket as Low, for example, which have really gorgeous sofas but are really expensive, but they're also not a kind of super budget sofa. It's very well made. We literally chose this material off a tiny swatch. It's about 5 p.m. on a really rainy, dark day, and we had no idea how the colour was really going to turn out. We did know the colour of the walls already before we moved into this house, which, as I've mentioned before, are Skimming Stone by Fire on Ball. And that colour actually works really well because it sometimes looks beige and it sometimes looks slightly more grey. So it's not really warm toned, but it's not really cool toned either. I do always think that the colours on my camera come out as like way more grey, cool toned than they actually are in real life, by the way. But yeah, like looking at it on the back wall, that looks a bit more grey in this light, and then over here it looks like completely creamy beige colour. So with the sofa, the main thing we wanted to do was make sure we were getting something that was a little bit interesting. I didn't want like a really plain material. I wanted something with a bit of texture in, but also that wasn't like really warm toned or really cool toned. This colour is actually called Jute. By the way, for everything I mentioned in this video, I will try and write it or link it in the description box with the colours and everything like that. But if I do forget anything, just leave a comment and I will get back to you. But yeah, this colourway is called Jute, and it's a very kind of textured material. So when you look up close, it's got like specks of like black and white in and things like that. So yeah, a little bit interesting. We knew we wanted an L-shaped sofa, even though we don't have kind of two walls it can naturally sit against in this lounge. We had a completely different idea of where we were going to have this sofa, which is crazy to think now because I just don't think that positioning would have worked at all. But an L shape was so important to us. I think in the US they call L shapes sectionals, something like that. Just because Elliot especially just loves sitting down, watching films, just lounging about on the TV, especially like on a hangover or whatever. And it was just so important that we had a sofa that was really comfortable. The other requirement we actually had with a sofa was we wanted it to be an L shape, but we didn't want it to just have a chaise, I think. So we wanted to make sure that you could actually sit against this bit, so you can actually have somebody sat, very well demonstrated by me, can actually have somebody sat here. A lot of smaller L-shaped sofas like this one, you actually don't have that option, if that makes sense. I don't know if anyone's going to understand what I mean, but they're usually just a 3-seater, whereas this one can actually quite comfortably be a 4-seater sofa, which was another really important thing for us because we always have people around. As you can see, the sofa that we chose ended up actually being quite low to the ground, which sort of works in this space because I think it makes the space look a bit bigger. It's a bit less obtrusive, especially because we've got an L-shaped sofa. That's obviously our front door, and then this is our staircase here. So you can see the material up close here, so it's very just textured and kind of, I almost wanted to say herringbone, but it's not actually herringbone, but you can just see it's very, yeah, very textured up close. Sometimes it looks a bit grey, sometimes it looks beige, really sort of depending on what light you have it in. The other thing to mention is one of the reasons that we went with a synthetic material is actually because we will definitely end up getting a pet at some point, and we just wanted it to be really easily washable. This material being slightly textured as well just means it doesn't show up dirt half as much as it would do if it was just a block colour, so that works well for having people around, and it's definitely had plenty of drinks spilt on it already. The cushions on this sofa are like a big place where I really want to add in some colour. I've just currently haven't made any decisions on it. We need to just kind of agree on a bit of a colour scheme. I think I mentioned before, but I really love the idea of doing like a slate sort of bluey grey colour, and I think it would work really well with the chair that we've got, which I'll show you in a sec. But I'll put a picture of like some inspo that I had here. We'd kind of started with the cushions and then we ended up with just sort of a mishmash. We've got 3 of these kind of rectangular, smaller bolster sort of cushions, which we definitely aren't meant to have. But I do love all these cushions individually. I just don't really know if they're all right for the space at the moment. But just for reference, these big ones are from H&M. They're actually really comfy and probably the most practical ones. And these 2 smaller ones were from Cave Home. Again, I'll make sure I put all the links in the description box. And this one, along with one in the other corner, which I'll show you in a little bit, were from a seller on Etsy. And we've actually bought a ton of cushions for our house from this seller, and they're just all really gorgeous. Sorry, I really should have just like plumped everything up to show you, but I haven't. So this is actually about as far back as I can go. But yeah, this is what our sofa looks like in the space. We really need a rug here, and I think you might have seen the vlog where we actually bought a rug, which we thought we were going to be really happy with, and Elliot especially just absolutely hated it. So that is still in the garage, and I would love a really nice snuggly rug there, although the floor being limestone and just so easily wipeable is actually very practical. A rug is definitely needed at some point. Then this mirror we picked up from William Wood. I love the detail on it. I was actually, just quickly, when we got it, I really thought it was going to be, I mean, it did have the measurements online, but I really thought it was going to be longer, and I was worried about it not working in the space. But now we've got it up, I actually do really love it in this space. But yeah, the detail on it is lovely. So it's that kind of quite on trend, this sort of industrial black square mirror, but with a completely different twist, which is why I like it, because I don't tend to like buying things that everybody else has got already, I've realized. So it does have a black frame, which works well because we have got black windows, but it's got these little kind of bronze, I don't know what they are, little bronze finish things on, and I think it works so well, just really brightens up the space. And I love that it reflects the fireplace, because I just think that's one of the most beautiful features of this house, and also the oak staircase. A huge thing that we want to do after summer is get some art up on the walls, and potentially things either side. I actually love the idea of having some kind of sconce lights on either side of the mirror. Please let me know if you've got any suggestions watching this, because I am always open to hearing other people's ideas as well. But yeah, maybe some really cool, more industrial or more like cottage style sconce lights would be nice. So this next area is a bit that we just really have struggled to agree on. So this TV actually came from our old flat. As I mentioned before, I feel like one of the things that's so important to Elliot is having like a really good film watching setup, which I respect. I'm just not that into watching films, if I'm honest, so I do find it hard to not think of how much nicer this space would be if the TV was a little bit smaller. I just think the TV being that big, it kind of looks a bit ridiculous. But I do think it's also enhanced by the fact that the TV is actually bigger than our TV stand. We really love this TV, well, I really love the TV stand. Elliot's not sold on it. It was a little bit of a panic buy when we moved in because we really needed a TV stand. It was actually on this old chest that we've got, which I'll show you in a second. And it just wasn't really working like height-wise, especially not when the sofa came, because actually at the moment the sofa and the TV are kind of level with each other. But we just think we might need something a little bit more interesting in this space. I don't mind the TV stand, I just think it doesn't really work with a bigger TV on. So unless I can get Elliot to agree to downsize, I think maybe at some point we would consider changing that, but I don't know. We'll see. Not right now anyway. But this is actually a lovely piece of furniture from Tika Moon, and they've got some gorgeous, gorgeous things. We actually got our bedside tables upstairs from Tika Moon as well. And it's just got these little drawers, so everything is kind of kept neat and tidy underneath. And it's got like a way of organising your cables through like a hole in the back as well. So from that point of view, it works well. But yeah, one of these is kind of not working at the moment, pretty much. So this bit of our lounge, I just love. I just think that having this fireplace honestly makes the house. I think it just brings such like warmth into it and just really adds to the kind of cottagey feel, because our kitchen area is just very modern feeling, as much as there are some traditional kind of features. It's actually the original fireplace. This house was actually built in the 1800s, we think around 1850, and we just love that this feature is still in. We do have a log burner, which is amazing, and at some point I would love to add some kind of detail around it, but people have pointed out obviously fire hazards, and as much as I really wanted to have some like logs stacked up, potentially not the best idea. For now, it's just a space where I light my candles on top of it until the weather gets a little bit colder again. And I love that this, I know I very much spoke you through kind of the transformation of this area, but I just think having this area has made such a difference. This chair we picked up from John Lewis. It was on the pricier side, let's put it that way, but Elliot absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, I adored it, but he was like, we've got to get this. I'm gonna sit in here, I'm gonna read in here. I can just picture like my dad reading his paper in here when he comes to stay. It's such a comfy chair. And we wanted to create almost like a little reading nook, reading corner area. You'll probably remember the whole saga with putting up the shelves and how difficult we actually found that. But we are yet to come up with a lovely display of things on these shelves, which is something that we really need to prioritise, because it's actually first thing you see when you come into the house. So I think having some more gorgeous books and like rustic things or whatever will actually work really well, and I think it'll just bring it all together. I'm also super keen to get some artwork up on this wall, maybe like 2 smaller pictures, and I definitely want to bring in some kind of gilded, you know, those like gilded gold frames with some lovely prints in or whatever that bring in whatever colours we choose and go with. But having this chair as a tan leather just works so well, I think, with the fireplace. I have actually been thinking it'd be really good to get a couple of cushions on our sofa that are a similar kind of orange tan sort of colour, just to tie it all together. And again, we've got that really cute little stripe design, which hasn't been puffed up very well, just from a seller on Etsy. But yeah, I think I pretty much just need to spend a day or whatever just looking on Pinterest, going and finding some things to fill the shelves with. We've got a couple of car boot sales near me, so I think if I know the kind of thing that I'm looking for, I will try and thrift them. I thought I had a load of things that would look great on a shelf, but honestly, go back and watch the video where we put up those shelves, because when I put the items I thought were gonna look good on the shelves, actually on the shelves, it looked hilariously bad. Like, I actually don't know how it looked quite so bad. It just looked like a child had just gonna put all their items on there. So yeah, I think a little lesson in shelf styling for me is gonna be very necessary. So our lovely window area. Now this area was completely transformed with the addition of our curtains. And I was a bit nervous about the whole curtain situation because, well, it didn't have curtains before at all, so I was just a bit worried that they weren't going to look right. We toyed with the idea of also doing a Roman blind at some point, like we've got upstairs. But I am so glad that we persevered with the curtains. I think they just frame the window so well. For us, there's like a big element of like practicality. We really needed to put curtains in or something to block the window at night. These are actually blackout curtains. I'll tell you a bit more about these in a second, but they are actually blackout curtains. I mean, not fully blackout. Like I think if you had them in your bedroom, you'd wake up to light in the morning. You can't see through them, which is something that was really important to us. We just went for a really simple matte black curtain pole and black curtain rings. It works really well in the space. It's honestly just very simple, but I'm hoping we'll leave room for us to add bits of colour in elsewhere, because obviously the kind of base of this lounge is just so neutral at the moment. Then this item of furniture, I change my mind on this every single day. You might remember that when we moved in, my dad was like, why don't you just take this piece of furniture? This was actually my great-great-granddad's chest. It's a really, really gorgeous piece of furniture. It's actually very practical because it opens up and it's got a huge amount of storage space in. I just don't know if I think that the wood works particularly well in this room. I think it's a great place to be able to just like put your bag on or throw your keys on when you come into the house. I'm just not convinced. Please let me know your opinions on this piece of furniture being there. I'm gonna come and sit down here for a bit. But yeah, it's actually only here because we were using it as a TV stand when we moved in. And then I had put it there, so next time we went up north, I could take it back and we could put it back in my dad's storage unit. And we've ended up getting the train up north every time since, so we've just never taken it back. And I just feel totally on the fence with it. I can appreciate how gorgeous it is. I just love the detail on it so much, but I'm just really, really not convinced that it fits in this space. But for now, it's gonna stay here, and if we get rid of it, we will definitely replace it with something else, because I think it adds quite a nice focal point when you're the other side of the kitchen. I just worry we've got quite a lot of like random woods and tones of brown going on here with the oak and the teak and then the brick and then the tan leather. What I do want to do though, and I've started doing here with literally one item, is having a bit more like actual interesting decor in the space. I actually picked up this pot from HomeSense. I think it was like £12. It was actually very inexpensive. And I just put some dried eucalyptus leaves in here. It's just my main thing in this space, I think, is, yeah, really important to me to have a bit of colour in here. But yeah, it'd be quite nice to look back on it when we've actually done like a proper transformation and see what it looks like with a lot more detail in. But yeah, compared to the day that we moved in, I do think the space is looking good. It is really homely, it's comfortable, it really, really does serve a purpose for us. Yeah, even looking at it now, I just think like a kind of paler, like slate bluey colour would look really, really nice in here. I actually just got this package through in the post, which I ordered from Nespresso, and I'm way too excited about it because it is basically a load of new coffee pods for my Virtuo machine. I've never actually ordered them myself from the website before because we just had the ones that we initially got with the machine, and I went on there and had an absolute field day selecting which coffee I wanted. So what I went for, because the only thing I find with that machine is that it makes really, really big coffees, which is great because it's much bigger than the old Nespresso machine I had. But the coffees are so big that there's no room in the cup for milk. Well, there's room for a little bit of milk, but both Elliot and I like a milky coffee. So I decided to go for some slightly different options. So what I opted for with the larger coffees, and you can see the difference in coffee pod size. So the ones that we got initially make it's like 250 millilitres or something of coffee, and yeah, we just find it's actually a little bit too much unless you had literally giant coffee cups. So I actually opted for the one that makes 150 millilitres instead, and I think it's going to be like a much more suitable size for the kind of coffee we want. So for those, I got the Ethiopia blend. I also got the ones that are specifically for iced coffees, although I've got no idea what makes them specifically for iced coffees. But that makes 80 millilitres and is a double espresso. Then I also got some just single espresso ones. So, oh, and some decaf for my dad in the evening for when he comes to stay. So yeah, we'll see how all those go, but I'm quite excited to fill our jar with a load of new coloured pots. I just had some not so amazing news, which I might explain a little bit later once I've just kind of absorbed it properly. I just really struggled to focus this afternoon, and when I was back at my family home at the weekend, and when I was there, I was speaking to my dad about how therapeutic gardening is. It just kind of came to my mind when I felt a little bit stressed, and I was like, I'm just gonna go around and do some deadheading. Never thought I'd be this person. Some sweeping of the astroturf, because that needs sweeping apparently, otherwise it's covered in leaves. And I actually feel a little bit calmer, and I'm now considering going for a swim. Look how lovely the garden is looking. There's something about coming out here and just seeing what's new and what's, you know, just popped up. It's just so lovely. These are actually my current favourites because I just think the burgundy with the white is just gorgeous. We need some kind of cutting back of things that looked a bit wilted from when we came back. The geraniums are gorgeous. Look, a little bee. Definitely one of my absolute favourites, and that's hopefully gonna have a whole other gorgeous new head. These had all come out when we were away, so that was a really nice surprise to come back to. I'm not sure what these are called, but they are also looking really pretty. To be honest, everything was a bit dry, so I've just given everything like a complete soak, so I'm hoping that might come back to life a little bit. And we've got some that are just growing so tall, and this is lovely. It's funny because I just don't remember planting any of these, but they are just so gorgeous. And we've got quite a few of them as well. And these, I think, they are just starting to come out, and I guess they're just going to be tiny white flowers on the end, but also just looking so lovely. But yeah, pretty much what has happened is I've had an appointment with the NHS on the 11th of July for, I mean, a good few weeks now. An appointment that I've waited 3 months for, and they were going to do my appointment with my surgeon that operated on my knee, so he can have another look at whatever it is that's going wrong or just isn't right yet, and an MRI scan on the same day, because the only real way of him figuring out what's wrong, I'm assuming, is via a scan. God, these birds are literally, I mean, it's lovely, but you're quite loud. But yeah, the only way of him, I'm assuming, figuring out what's wrong is via scanning my knee. Anyway, waited for this appointment for ages, actually 3 months, maybe just over 3 months now. And that is apparently how long it takes to get an appointment at the moment. And I just had a letter through the post to say they've moved it to the 14th of July when I'm away. So, yeah. Straight on the phone to the hospital, and after a long time trying to get through to the right person, they informed me that yes, they have moved it, and if I want a different appointment, it's going to be probably about another month and a half wait. So yeah, not feeling best pleased. I think just it's hard because I think I'm really trying to empathise and just think I'm sure that they are, you know, they're really busy and whatever, but I just think it's like the carelessness. I think it's it's feeling like nobody cares is the thing that I'm like really struggling with. I sometimes think that it's not taken into consideration how much hope that you pin onto these appointments when you've got a problem, and then for someone to just be like, oh sorry, we've moved it. It's like people plan their weeks around these things. Like, I'm lucky I'm self-employed because I don't know what I'd be doing otherwise. And the issue I've got as well is that I'm actually unable to drive myself to the hospital. I can do very short car journeys, like maximum 10 minutes, and even 10 minutes I'm in quite a lot of pain, and the hospital's an hour and a half away from me. You know, I'd happily be moved to a nearer hospital, but that's apparently not an option. And I'm then completely reliant on Elliot taking a whole day off work to drive me 3 hours just to go to the hospital, let alone the waiting time when I'm there. So yeah, it's just not great. And I just had like a complete breakdown about it this morning. And I don't know if it seems like a big deal, or I don't know, it probably seems like so insignificant to people listening to me whittering on about this, But I just, like, this is the 3rd summer that my body has been in this state, and I know I guess I seem positive online, but I've really struggled with this. Like, I'm really struggling with it. It's just like a complete, it's just a mental battle. It's like an uphill battle, and it's just not getting any easier. In fact, it feels like I've made no progress, which is the thing that kind of kills me inside. And yeah, over 2.5 years on, which is just absolutely crazy to me. Funnily, someone asked me yesterday I did one of those Q&As on Instagram, and someone put in the question box, like, how do you stay positive and like motivated through injury? And if I'm honest, like, I don't think I am. I think maybe I come across that way online because all I can do is just focus on the things that I can do, and that is really what I try and do day to day, but it's actually just not that easy. And yeah, have days like today where I've basically ended up doing no work because the only thing I've been able to focus on is this, and it's just like disappointment after disappointment. But yes, sorry to bring negativity to this, but I know that I've got some of you that watch my videos that can relate, and I know because I'll get lovely messages from people, but all I can say is, if you have got an injury or any kind of issue with your body and you're putting it on the back seat, don't, because it might take you a year to even see the right person, because the waiting times are just so long. Oh, and if you can, get private health insurance. Get private health insurance. I now have private health insurance. In hindsight, it would have been an amazing thing to have, but I didn't have it. But I've now realised that there is kind of nothing more important than my body functioning correctly. So yeah. Just finishing off the day with a Thai red curry, which I've made for Elliot and I, and some rice. Actually microwave rice that we've had to do in a pan because we still don't have a microwave. And yeah, trying to end on a bit of a healthy note. I've put loads and loads of veg in there, and I'm just hoping it might just make my body feel better, and then maybe it'll make my mind feel better as well. Right guys, just finished dinner, and Elliot and I are gonna sit, chill, have a little refresh so I can start tomorrow in a little bit more of a positive headspace. But yeah, I hope you loved seeing a bit more of the house and a little mini transformation, I guess. It's probably not as big of a transformation as I would have wanted to show you initially, but it will come. It will definitely come. I've also loved getting back to the house content a little bit, so let me know if you have enjoyed it as well in the comments. Subscribe if you do want to stick around, and I'll see you in Sunday's video. Bye! Just in our matching slouch potato pajamas. Watching Man vs. Bee, which Elliot's finding hilarious.